Hi everyone. So today we are going to look at a pre-painted figurine of Emilia, who is arguably the most important female character and also the main love interest of Subaru, the protagonist in the anime ReZero Starting Life in Another World. Now this Banpresto figurine is a prize from an Ichiban Kuji called ReZero Dreaming Future Story. She is in fact prize B of that Ichiban Kuji. Let's go ahead now to unbox this Ichiban Kuji prize figurine. Similar to the Ichiban Kuji figurine of Ram before her, which you may have seen in a video that I previously uploaded before this one, I had actually bought this figurine instead of winning her from an Ichiban Kuji lottery prize game. In terms of box art style, it is similar to the previous Ichiban Kuji Ram figurine that I reviewed in the previous video, because incidentally both of them are from the same Ichiban Kuji lottery game, which is the ReZero Dreaming Future Story. Apart from the see-through window at the front, there's also a little diamond-shaped window right at the top of the box, which allows you a top-down view of the figure. So let us now just cut open the box and see what is inside this Ichiban Kuji prize figure box. Based on my limited experience so far, most of the Banpresto Ichiban Kuji prize figures tend to come in plastic blisters, like the ones you see here as I'm removing Emilia from the box. These plastic blisters are of better quality than the protective plastic blisters usually found on the cheaper quality crane prize figures, whether they are from Sega or from Taito. Anyway, let's now just cut open the plastic blisters and remove Emilia from inside. Now, in addition to the tough plastic blister casing that is protecting her, she also comes wrapped up in additional plastic, which further protects the fragile pieces of the figurine. For example, her hair and the bangs at the side of her head, her fingers. So I'm trying to be extra careful while removing this last plastic wrapping on this figurine, lest I accidentally break anything. As you can see, Emilia comes in two parts, which is the figurine herself, as well as the round base that you see on my left hand here. Let's resume removing the last of the plastic wrappings from Emilia. There, finally I've done it, thankfully without breaking anything. So now that's done, let's move on to take a closer look at Emilia before we fix the figurine onto the base. Even from afar, you can tell that this Emilia figurine is extremely well proportioned and has been sculpted in a cute dynamic pose. Let's take a closer look at her now. Emilia has a simple pastel color scheme of a white, purple and green combination. Most of the color resides on her beautiful light purple dress, which looks semi-opaque. If you look closely enough, you can actually see through the dress to the flesh-colored hues of her skin tone. Perhaps I will just attach Emilia onto her base first, before continuing on with the detailed inspection of this figurine. The connection of Emilia's shoes onto the base seems to be a simple pack and hold joint connection, but things look fragile enough that I'm being extra careful not to apply too much pressure for fear of snapping her heels in half. What you see me doing now is to anchor the base onto the table so that I have a supporting structure onto which I can push Emilia's legs against. Now that click sound you hear shows you that the connection has been made. It's a reassuring sound that tells me Emilia is finally attached properly onto the base. Emilia's hair is in a fairly monotone white hue, but it is sculpted well so that many individual strands of hair give rise to natural grooves that in turn create natural shadows. On top of that, it has some very light purple shading. All in all, there's a lot of depth to her hair. Emilia also has a light purple hairband with a light pink rosebud and purple ribbon attached on the right side of that hairband. Her long, swirling, flowing hair adds some dynamism and movement to her pose, as if she is holding on to her skirt while she is turning or twirling around to face you. This pose is reinforced by the positioning or the pose of her legs. Speaking of which, Emilia's legs has a nice light shading on the shadow areas through the use of some light orange hues. This is evident to a lower degree on the rest of the flesh or skin tone areas, and overall, she has a fairly fair skin tone. So that's the ReZero Dreaming Future Story Ichiban Kuji Emilia figurine, given a quick once-over before we take a much closer and detailed look at her via a 360-degree close-up. This then is the full 360-degree view of the Ichiban Kuji ReZero Dreaming Future Story figurine of Emilia. Now, Emilia is actually the prize B figure as compared to the earlier prize C RAM figurine. So the prize B figure is actually technically the third best prize you can win after prize A and the last prize. Now, if you want to know what is the last prize, I had already explained this in the previous video when I reviewed the Ichiban Kuji prize figure of RAM. Proportions on these figurines are excellent. Everything looks spot on scale-wise, and the figurine also bears a very close resemblance to how the anime or manga character would look like if she was made to wear a dress. Purple is the dominant color of Emilia, which is well represented in this figurine's color scheme. And the purple plays off well against the whites of her hair, the green of her pendant, and the orange hues of her skin tone. From this close-up view of the upper section of the Emilia Ichiban Kuji figurine, the first thing that catches your eye is her long wavy hair. While it is predominantly white in color, it does have light purple as well as light orange hues on some of the individual strands of her hair. Now that, in addition to the natural shadows which arise from the deep grooves that are formed from the sculpture of her hair, ensures that her hair doesn't end up being just a dull, monotone flat white hue. Now her face bears a very close resemblance to the anime and manga character, which is always key to a good figurine sculpture. Emilia's exposed shoulders and back are well sculpted and are given a light shading of orange hues for the shadow areas. Essentially, the exposed flesh areas look extremely lifelike. Meanwhile, on Emilia's hair, there's a hairband with a pink rose and purple ribbon bow, and there's also an off-white flower-like adornment on the other side of her hair. Now, both of these add to the beauty of her hair. And if you look closely at Emilia's right hand, it seems to be brushing at her hair. Now, this coupled with her shy smile makes for a wonderful expression on this figurine. Emilia has on a semi-opaque purple dress with lace filigree on the edges. Overall, her dress looks elegant yet not too formal, which is a nice balance that lends itself to a cute look. The clear green pendant that she has on her neck contrasts beautifully with her purple dress, adding variety to the simple color scheme. Now on top of that, there is some orange shading on her skin tone. Overall, you could call this a triadic color scheme of purple, green and orange, plus the neutral whites of her hair. Meanwhile, if you look closely at Emilia's left hand, you will see it pinching at the folds of her skirt. As I mentioned earlier, what this does is to add some dynamic movement to Emilia's overall pose, which is also accentuated by her long flowing hair. For her shoes, Emilia is wearing light purple high heels, which match the elegance of her dress as well as the overall color scheme. Her heels are highly noticeable against the simple white colored round base, which has line patterns on its circumference. And even at this angle, the skin tone shading of her legs are visible, orange hues like the rest of her exposed skin, and this helps define the muscle tone or the overall shape of her legs. For all that has been said about Emilia so far, where does she actually stand in a 6-tiered ranking system ranging from bronze all the way to special or S rank? So now, let's look at the positives first. Emilia has good proportions, which are appropriately scaled all the way from the head and eyes to the rest of her body. Standing at 21 centimeters tall, this figurine is appropriately sized, and the figure also very accurately resembles its anime and manga counterpart, which is always a huge positive for any figurine in your collection. In addition to this, Emilia has an elegant color scheme that is in predominantly purple hues, which is the color that this character is usually represented by in the anime. I also like Emilia's elegant yet simple pose, which gives a sense of dynamic movement. And as for the cons, the only thing I can think of is that Emilia's base is too simple with a very unappealing color scheme of white. So all in all, I will give Emilia a rating of platinum or B rank, and it is definitely a figurine that I want to have in my collection, especially as a ReZero anime fan. That's it for this video on Emilia's Ichiban Kuji figurine. I hope you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching as always, and have a great day.